Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I want to show off and talk about my vintage football card collection. Now, it's not one that I talk too much about, but if you watch a lot of my pickup videos, you'll see time to time, I pick up vintage football. And it's really been something that I collected, as, let's say, first getting into the hobby without money. Because vintage football was a lot cheaper than vintage baseball when I was first started collecting PSA cards. And so it was kind of like a way when I was on a big budget, first starting out, to still collect vintage cards, but and pick up cool Hall of Famers, but not able to get some of the baseball cards I was looking for. So I started looking at football, and it was a fun, kind of like inexpensive thing to do. Now, with prices kind of stabilizing or getting higher, it's a lot harder to pick up those really cool football cards. And I'm very disappointed going back through my collection I didn't pick up more really cool football cards when I could have, but it is what it is. But I've got some really nice ones I want to show off. So we'll start here with some 48 Leaf. I got a Billy Dewell, which a lot of times is, again, picking up some of these cards is just like you get a chance. It wasn't like this huge plan. It was kind of like opportunistic, but this card's cool. Sammy Ball, 49 Leaf. And a very nice 2.5. It's got a crease right here. You can probably see. Yeah, right there on the camera. In the back, is not too bad. So again, I'd say like this is a very presentable 2.5, and like I said, just picked it up opportunistically, and it's a cool card. Next up, I'll go through, just like in baseball, 50s, football cards aren't, as common, as 60s and 70s. But I've been trying to, get 50s football cards. So here's a 53 Bowman, Kyle Rote. I believe he is a Hall of Famer. The PSA 7. Cool looking cards. 54 Bowman Autogram, and definitely a Hall of Famer. Love the autogram. 55 Bowman, so we went through the Bowmans there. Frank Gifford, you notice I don't have 52, kind of like the big dog set. Again, I was buying a lot of these cards when my, let's say, funding was a lot lower, so I was looking at the sets that weren't quite as expensive. Later on, I did pick up some fun cards, but they were mostly 60s and 70s, because that's still the era I collect more than anything. 55 Bowman, Charlie Connery, 7.5. Really nice card. A little out of focus. I think this card definitely is a little out of focus, but still a nice card. Here's a 55 Bowman Art Spiny from the Baltimore Colts. There's the back. Nice grade 7. You can see I'm not as big of a grade snob in my football collection. Bud Holland, 55 All-American, PSA 7. And its significance is that he went to Cornell. That's where I went to school. And so I kind of dig that. You can find some old school football players who went to Cornell. And that's kind of fun to collect. 56 Topps Art Donovan. I graded this card myself, so this is one of the ones I actually sent into PSA myself. Cool card, PSA 7. 56 Bobby Lane. I love this card. It's got a really deep red. It's really nice. It's an old grade too, so really like that card. Just a really nice. And Detroit making the NFC Championship game. There you go. 56 George Blanda. This card definitely not as nice. I'm just going to kind of compare the two cards just for a second. As the Bobby Lane, if you compare him. The reason why the yellow is a little dirty in the background, and he's a little more out of focus. So just how I look at cards, vintage wise. 57 Art Donovan. Really cool. I really like the 57 set. My tragic tale was during COVID, I purchased a 57 Unitas rookie. and it got lost in the mail. It never arrived. And yeah, so I never got that card. And then prices went up tremendously from then on, and now I can't really afford it properly. Dick Night Train Lane. Pretty cool card. Here's the back if you don't know what the 57s look like. Cool cards. Chicago Cardinals. So there you go. Chicago had, I guess, 2 teams at one time. 58 Sonny Jurgensen. This is his rookie card. For those who don't know the Hall of Fame rookie cards, like I don't very well. I still don't know all of them very well like I do baseball, but this is his rookie card. There you go. That's a cool back on the 58s, which a lot of them are rubbed off, which will, I think, somewhat lower the grade, and they're a little inconsistent on that. Here's a 58 Y.A. Tittle. So San Francisco is still in the playoffs, so there you go. One of their old school quarterbacks. White Tittle played forever. Alan Amici, 58 tops as well. I used to have a 58 Jim Brown. I don't have one anymore. I bought it for $1,200 in an SGC 7. It was very well centered, and I ended up selling it. And this back is very, very nice. I ended up selling it during the COVID price increase for over $6,000. So pretty good profit on that card within basically less than a year. That's how crazy that COVID time period was. Chuck Bednarik in a 7. Very nice card. 7s, if you can get them centered, look great, and they don't cost a ton of money. These old football cards. All right, starting with some better, top tier guys here. Bart Starr, PSA 859 tops. Always love that pink background. I always loved it when they give like guys like Bob Gibson and Bart Starr like pink backgrounds. These tough guys. It's kind of cool. There you go. And there's another magic coin. It says right here, rub edge to get the answers. So cool Bart Starr. Now, this card's really interesting. So it's a 59 Frank Griffith. Now, if you look at that flip, it looks weird. See how it crackle and weird? So what happened on this card was, I'm down in the basement. I probably can hear like our heater running right now. I'm downstairs, basement, banished, and everything's falling apart. And so there's the washing machine and dryer down here with me. And so a lot of times I use them as like places to like put my boxes on as I'm sorting cards. And evidently this card fell behind the washing machine for a lot of years. And I didn't know where it went. I thought maybe I just sold it. I mean, I don't have that great of a tracking system. And one day while moving the washing machine, this card was behind it. And so it was behind there. It never got waterlogged or anything, but I guess there's some, the dryer generates some heat and it caused this label to do that. So there you go. That's what will happen if you put cards like this in heat. The PSA label will turn colors. There you go. Very interesting. I'm not sure. Like I may want to pop it out just to see what that Gifford truly looks like. In that holder. Maybe damage. I don't know, but it's got an interesting tail. 60 Unitas, 7, but this is an old grade. It's a nice card. It's off center, so I don't think it's going to get anything better. But it's the number 1 card in a set, so that always gives it a little bit of a premium. And again, Topps loves their rub-offs. Now, a lot of people, don't like the 60 set because it's so plain. I think it's definitely got some charm, but I understand why some folks may not like it. Here's a Sam Huff, Hall of Famer, 60 Topps, New York Giants. Reportedly, he was like one of the toughest guys to ever play, Sam Huff. A lot of stories I've read about him from that time period said he was like literally one of the toughest guys in the league. 61 Fleer, Jack Kemp. So Fleer started making cards around the same time they made that 63. Well, earlier than baseball, which was 63 Fleer, but you got this 61 set. Really nice set. I like it. I mean, here's George Blanda and a Mint 9. Look at that. You don't see many Mint 9s from the 60s in my collections, guys. George Blanda. And I may have another Blanda in here. Nope. I thought I had two. There's a 61 Fleer Raymond Berry. It's a short set, and I always thought about putting it together, but we'll see. I got a few cards from it, so it's Tommy McDonald, PSA 7. So this is a good Philadelphia Eagle player. Sorry, my cold's still here a little bit. 61 Topps Jim Otto. I've always loved this card just because two things. One is, he was a center, and I played center in high school for my team in Oklahoma. And so I always like cards of centers. Just how small he looks on this card. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, this guy probably wasn't too, it was like he's 200 pounds. He was center in the professional leagues. Okay, well, it says he weighs 227, but I mean, he just looks really small on that card. But I like how it looks. It looks really cool. I just love that pose. It's just like, they would never catch a guy doing that pose today on a card. 61 Paul Hornung. I like 61 Topps a lot better 60s. That red background. In fact, this set's a lot nicer than the baseball set, honestly. If I was going to just say Tom Flores, who's probably maybe a Hall of Fame coach. He's a guy that really revolutionized coaching. There's a Sonny Jurgensen. Again, another great Philadelphia Eagle quarterback on a PSA 8. And then you've got, here's a 61 Bobby Mitchell. And just like the different color backgrounds. I mean, you got red, green. It's a little Christmas action going on. Should have done this during that time period. Now, my favorite set of the 60s is 62 Topps because it's basically 71 Topps, just with a horizontal design. So I really love this set. I used to have a Jim Brown 7, so I think high on my list this year is not the Jim Brown rookie, but I want to get the 62 and 63 Jim Browns. Those are my favorite Jim Brown cards by far. And I used to have each of those, and I've sold them throughout the years, and I really want them back because I love those two cards. But here's a PSA 8 Hugh McElhaney, and here's what the backs look like. And they got rid of the rub-offs finally, after 5 years in a row or something, 6 years in a row of rub-offs. Then they finally created a regular card. I love this card because also, I bought it and it was sleeved like this, and the guy put the tab on the front. Who puts the tab on the front? I mean, I don't know. I've never fixed it, but it was interesting. 62 Topps are hard, so I only have one. So 63 Fleer, Don Maynard. There you go. Great tight end for the Jets. There you go. Like that card a lot. And then probably one of my favorite cards on my whole collection here, 63 Top, Bart Star 8.5. It's a beautiful card. You just look at it. It is super nice. A little off top to bottom, but it is a sweet, sweet card. Just love that card. Yeah, I'm very happy that I own that card. 64 Philadelphia was another set that I actually own about a third of it raw. I bought it, at a auction, a live auction. And so it's all really good grade. There was a Jim Brown, I believe that was in that lot. But I got the Johnny Unitas in an 8. I've got the Herb Adderley in the 7. And then in 65, I do have the Jim Brown. So that's a 65 Philadelphia. I don't have the 64 Jim Brown here. It is located somewhere else in a vault. Somewhere else. So I bought one on a PWCC auction, and it's still in a vault. So I got to get it shipped to me. But I do have a 64 Brown. Just not here. It's a 7. Here's a 65 Philadelphia Jim Brown, and I like this card a lot. I believe this is a rub-off too, so everyone loved the rub-offs back in the day. But that 65 Jim Brown is a really cool card. There is a 65 Johnny U. I think I just had this in one of my last videos. It's a really clean 6. It's a really well centered. It presents really well. If you compare where was that? Yeah, the 65 Jim Brown to me, they look very comparable. So it's a really nice cards. Next, can't get these in. There's a 65 Philadelphia Bobby Mitchell, PSA 7. Then I think you kind of previewed this 66 Philadelphia Bart Starr PSA 8. Really just a lot of, and this had a really cool green back. And if you're a Packer fan, it's a color match. But there you go, 66 Bart Starr. This card I really like because the photography got really clear in later years. And you saw in the early 60s, like, it seemed like all the cards were just blurry. Even if it had good, centering or good focus, it just, this photography got better around 66. You can really see it on this card, like the card looks actually like a photo. And then this is like, I really like the 67 set. This is like the 91 Fleer baseball precursor set, but I love this set. I really do. And I've got this Bart Starr in a 8. And I've got the Johnny Unitas in a 7. It's a little more off center, so if you compare the two cards, you see the Bart Starr is a little better centered. But just cool cards. I love those two cards. I wish there was a Jim Brown. His last Philadelphia card is 66. There's a Fran Tarkenton, 67. A lot of cool colors, a pink, purple, or purplish pink, purple uniform, yellow borders, pink or purple background. Just a lot of stuff. A lot of colors. Very psychedelic, 67. And then Jim Marshall. It's interesting because they were on the same team. That their background colors aren't the same. It's like a blue, and this is more of a purple, but this part's the same. So Jim Marshall and Frank Tarkenton, PSA 8, and he was a great player. There's a Raymond Berry, PSA 8. So you can see I really like the 67 Philadelphia set. Bob Booley, PSA 8. Really like that card a lot. So he was the number 1 draft choice in 61. I don't think he had a card till later on. I forget what year's his rookie card. I don't think it's this card. I think it's an earlier card, but it just shows you, like, in football cards, like, you may have been drafted and played 4 or 5 years before you even had a card. A lot of these sets are small. So unless you were a superstar or just on a team that was popular, like just won the Super Bowl, you may not have had a card issued. I'm sure a lot of players had never had a card from the 60s and 70s. More like the 50s and 60s, but, just because the sets were so small. Here's Bob Hayes. Beautiful card. PSA 8. I think that's the last card. Nope. I'm still in 67 Philadelphia. So, yep, there we go. Sorry, I got flipped on me. So here's Cornell Green. An 8.5. Love the grade from the Dallas Cowboys. And then, there we go. Bob Hayes, Cornell Green. And then I'll just put these all 3 out again because I keep flipping over. So this is a really nice card. 67 Joe Namath. So this is kind of my first Namath card. Again, I didn't even take it out of the eBay sleeve there. So this is kind of a more recent purchase. So love that card. Now this next card is a card I really, really dig. The 68 stand-up Joe Namath. I 100% wish that they would come back with this kind of a design again. Just like really cool. Love that design. It's a 7. This is with the back. They're just blank backs. Then 68 Johnny Unitas PSA 8. I like the 68 set. Very colorful. It's like very ergonomics the word. There's a lot of, like, I just like how it's all the line. It's just like when you get a centered one, it all just looks really cool. Like it's all very symmetrical. And then the Joe Namath 69 tops, which this card can have really blazing orange, or it could be very faded. This one's kind of in between. It's still an 8. It's an old grade. And so the backs look like a black back. So these cards are really susceptible for chipping. And you can see this one is super duper clean. Very little chipping on the back of that card. And then here's the back of the 68. It's got the highlights, but you don't need to rub them off to see it. So that's 69, and then we'll go over here. I think we start. I'm out of order here, guys. Oh my god, my collection is out of order. 68 Dick Butkus, PSA 8. So that should have been back here. Oh no, I got my 68s out of order. And then here's a 68 Fran Tarkenton 8.5. Really cool. I love the 68 set. So I'll stick it over here. Yeah, interesting. I didn't realize that happened. All right, here's start of the 70s. We'll start with a really cool. Here's the super glossy set. It is the Joe Namath and a PSA 8. Just kind of a blank back. Very similar to the 68 3D back, I think. Just, a name on the back. Which some of them don't even have that. Or not the 3D. I'm trying to think of the other set. Sorry, mine's kind of blank here. But yeah, like, just the name on the back. That's all you get. But this, I like the colors because it's very 70s to me. Like that set really screams 70s. And then also from the 70s set itself, we got a Bart Star 70 and an 8.5. You can see that came from Check Out My Cards. You can see the little slip on the back for that card. And then Gale Sayers in a 7.5. Then here's a really cool card. I love this card. 71 Topps Johnny Unitas PSA 8. It's a super tough card. And I used to have the full set. I actually had the number 4 or 5 set registry in 71 Topps. So I had the Bradshaw, the Joe Green, the Namath all in 8s, including the Unitas. So the only card I really had a hard time getting was the O.J. Simpson. And an 8, that card is like super, super duper rare. I always had a 7. So my set wasn't number 1 because a few of those kind of key cards were hoarded by a few collectors. In fact, I met one of them recently at a show. And I will say, so here's the Simpson 7. So I do still have this card. So when I met the Super 71 Topps collector, who has, I think, 4 or 5 registry sets, and was looking to buy, I think, that the Unitas from me, and was just, I would say, like, he was as obnoxious as a set collector as I've ever met in my life. I hate to say it because I like people who collect, but my lord, like, because I was talking about the O.J. Simpson, he would just be like, yeah, I hoard everyone that comes out. I grade a punch. I never let anyone have them. I want to have the best sets. And, if you need one, you got to come to me and I'm going to charge you an arm and a leg for it. I was just like, okay, well, that's not cool. Like, I just want to have a set, then I want it in a certain grade. And obviously it's impossible because you hoard all those cards so that no one else can build a set in that grade but you. Just interesting. Gale Sayers, I love this card too, 7. And outside of those 2 or 3 big cards, I think there's like 4 or 5 big cards in 71. You can get a lot of the stars. Other stars are really cheap. 72, Dick Butkus. I've always loved the 72 set because they are just like 72 Topps baseball. They are incredibly cheap to get stars like Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus, and you can get a lot of cool players really cheap. There's the Gale Sayers, and here is Len Dawson. I was when I was first buying these cards. Here's the back. I would sometimes get the 72 cards for like for 8s like $20 for a Gale Sayers, $15, $10 for some of these 8s. It was super duper cheap. And when your card budget's like $100 a month, sometimes picking up a 72 card for $10, $15 is, in a Hall of Famer is awesome. 72 Topps Willie Lanier, and an 8. And again, I haven't gone back and sleeved everything for my football cards like I did for most of my baseball, so that's why this is actually out. I was going back and sleeving stuff and haven't got everything. There's Lyle Alzado. This is his rookie card, by the way. Kind of like one of those tragic 70s stories. I think steroids really got to him. Steelers, Dave Smith. I just like the Steelers, so that card's in there. 8.5. Let's see. Yes. All Pro 72 Topps. Some of my favorite. They're high numbers. I love the design. So I would just buy the high number All Pros just because I thought they're cool. There's Bob Greasy. You'll see quite a few of them coming up. Just like him. Willie Lanier, and 8. Willie Brown, and a PSA 8. Again, you know, these used to be super expensive. So the 70 set, I guess I should caveat this, is like, it's super duper cheap unless you're trying to get the high numbers. And then at one point they were super expensive, and then they kind of come down, I think, as the pop counts kind of grew. Here's Ted Hendricks at an 8. And people realized maybe they weren't quite as rare as before. Maybe dealers were hoarding them a little bit, kind of hyping them up to be rarer than they really were. Forest Blue, PSA 8, All Pro. So here's our first 73, and here's a Joe Green, a PSA 6. I graded this one myself, so this is how good I am at grading 70s cards. There's my Joe Green. No, I think I popped this from a PSA or SGC 7 or 7.5 holder, and it came back a 6. So I'm pretty sure this was one of my older SGC to PSA crossover videos. Not great. 73 Roger Staubach, PSA 7. I think that I graded this one myself as well. Let's see. I think some of these are. No. Here's a 73 Bob Greasy. 73s are okay. The little ribbon, I mean, it's very, I don't think it's really that great of a design. In fact, it's weird because they don't even go with the, they have different colors, but they're not tied to team. Like, you got pink and purple for the Dolphins. And then here is the Frank Tarkenton with, you know, green and yellow. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why is this on a Packers card? That would make a lot of sense. But, yeah, alas, that's not how they did it. Just a weird, kind of a weird design. Now, back on this set, I love the 74 set. I love the goalpost, because it makes the card, when it's centered, so symmetrical, and it's just so cool. When it's off a little bit, like this card's off a little bit, it really does become noticeable, because that design element becomes, you know, a big way for you to judge the centering of the card. It's really noticeable when it's off. But I love the 74 set. And I know a lot of people hate it. I know there's people out there who just hate that 74 set because of the goalpost and the design. I love it. I understand it's kind of like odd or not cool, but I just really think it, you know, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. It's wacky and cool. 74 Franco Harris, obviously. You know, I'm a big Steeler fan. I don't really tout it as much as I used to. Just like my Pirate fandom, you know, it's just like, you know, it's hard to, you know, beat your chest about teams where they're, you know, just every year they just end up falling short. Pirate, you know, Steeler wise, they've definitely a lot more to be proud of than the Pirates, but, you know, this year was, you know, just hard to watch at some point when they lose a 2-win team, or they lose to teams that, you know, 2 wins multiple times, and then kind of back into the playoffs. And yeah, it's cool, but, you know, we all knew they were going to get smoked, and they did first round. And I think it's just tough, you know, to be like, I'm a huge Steelers fan, and, you know, and they haven't given you a lot to cheer about in the last, was it 8 or 9 years now, since they've really gone far in the playoffs. And there's Dick Butkus again, 74 tops. Again, I know a lot of people are going to be like, you know, I'm a Cowboys fan, and you have nothing to talk about. I know. But you're like us. Like, you had that run in the 90s. We had that run in the 70s. Then we did win again, you know, back in the 2000s. So, yeah, I mean, we've won 7, and we can't really complain. That's why another thing, I don't really want to complain too much, because, you know, there's a lot of teams out there that's never done that. So I got experience in my lifetime, a win. So there we go. So we're just in a little bit of a down period, even though they're making the playoffs and all that stuff, you know, and having winning seasons. They're just not as good. They just need a quarterback. Bob Hayes, PSA 8. So I'm not as vocal as I used to be. I love this card. 74 tops, Joe Green, Jim Brown. Joe Green. Love this card. Just, you know, I like the 74. So as you can tell, I've got quite a few 74s. And they're super duper cheap. These guys were like, you know, back in the day, back in that time period, we're just like giving away. All right, 75. So there's a Terry Bradshaw 8.5. My first Terry Bradshaw in the collection I'm showing you. I do have another whole box of Steeler cards. So these are my doubles for Steelers. So there's only one set in here that's not doubles, and when I get to it, I'll let you know. All the other Steelers that are in here are doubles, so that's why they're in here. I have another box of Steeler cards that is just from my personal collection. So these are the doubles. 75 Roger Staubach in 8.5, which I think is really cool. I've got matching 8.5s of the two best quarterbacks, I think, of the 70s, Staubach and Bradshaw, at least in the Super Bowl period. Quarterbacks that played each other in the Super Bowl, those were two of the best. Ernie Holmes. I just watched some of the Super Bowl highlights of Terry Bradshaw, and that guy had a gun. Holy crap. Him and Lynn Swann were fire back in the day. 76 Franco Harris. There you go. Love that card. 77 Steve Largent. This is his rookie card. I'm from Tulsa, or from Oklahoma, and this guy is from Tulsa and or University of Tulsa as well, and became like a politician and pretty big deal in Oklahoma. So, here we go. 77 Topps Ed Marinaro. Again, he's a Cornell guy, so he played for Cornell. Played in the NFL quite a few years. I mean, average lifespan for an NFL guy is like 3 to 4 years. So this guy played 5 or 6, and his best year he had 358 yards rushing, couple TDs. So I mean, he was a backup running back. He never was a stud. He was a really good player for Cornell. I think he holds all the records still. 77. Okay, here we go. 77 Bradshaw. I always love this photo. I just think it's very symmetrical. I love how this looks, on the card. It makes this set look so 70s. Just love it. And so the 77 set is very special to me because of a few things. You'll see some more Steelers. So again, I put together Steeler team sets of every year after they won the Super Bowl. So again, these are the doubles from those team sets from the 70s I put together. Jack Lambert. Here is the Franco Harris PSA 8. What would happen is a lot of times I buy either lots or I just keep buying the player, and I would get an 8, then I would get an 8.5, then I get a 9. So a lot of times it's because I have this card in a 9. So I put the 8.5 in my doubles pile. And so here's the first one. So this one is the highest grade I have. So I threw this in here because my Mike Webster PC, which my PC Webster, Mike Webster, he's my favorite Steeler that I collect. And I have this in here because my Mike Webster PC has the 8. So I have an 8, I have a 9. I think I actually have an 8.5 as well. I have 4 or 5 77 Websters. So I threw this in here just, to show it off for everyone. Just because I think it's a beautiful card, but also he's my favorite Steeler, my favorite football player. I played center, and again, I was number 52. Took my number after him. So, he was the guy I watched, as a kid growing up. I really loved getting this card. Now, what we're going to start seeing is there's a special set I put together. So, I put together Steeler team sets. So, the 77 set was one I put together. Obviously, with the Webster rookie card, makes it more special. So then I had to do the Mexican version, which is much harder to find. They were issued, I think, either as 1 card or 2 card packs. They were perforated, so they were kind of, you had to pull them apart. So you had these packs of these cards that were perforated, and the gum and the wax, and so half the cards were all stained. Or just getting cards in good shape from those packs were really tough. Now, I do know there's some unopened from that time period that was open. That's where a lot of the graded stuff came from, was finds of these cards from unopened packs. But again, a majority of the cards were still damaged coming out of those packs. So, but here is the Webster 77 Mexican that I graded myself in a PSA 8. I believe there is 1.9. I think there is 1.9. I got to remember back in the day, but there's very, very few of these cards on the Pop Report. I'll throw up on the screen kind of like what the Pop Report is for this card. Super rare. You can see it's almost miscut, but that's how these cards were. I mean, tons of printing, cutting issues, wax in the back, just everything you could think would go wrong with these cards would go wrong. You can see the perforation points here. I'll show it to you. See how there's those where the cards were stuck together that had to be pulled apart. So all that just makes these cards really tough, really rare. There's like a test issue for Mexico, so that's why you see Aceros versus Steelers. So there's the two cards side by side. Yeah, so in all honesty, it's probably my favorite football card of all time. Even though I, have, like some other cards, you saw some of their 60s cards I have. By far, this is my favorite football card of all time is this card here. Again, like I said, with my Clemente rookie, I would never get rid of that Clemente rookie, and now the 68 3D, I would never get rid of my Mike Webster Mexican rookie card. I would sell this card 1,000 times because I know I can replace it. This card is very tough to find. I've seen maybe one other card like this for sale in my lifetime. So there's that. Now, since I've got the Mexican Webster, I decided, why not just do the whole set? So here is the 77 Mexican Joe Green in an 8. There you go. I don't know why I kept it in this sleeve, but with tape on it. But there you go. And it's a little bit better centered on the back than the Mike Webster is. But there you go. That is the Joe Green. Then I've got the Franco Harris in a PSA 7. There you go. And then I have the Jack Lambert in a 7 as well. There you go. And this one was a tough one to find. Actually, this is one of the most expensive ones I got because it came from a pedigree collection from SGC, which is hard to think about. But here is the Lynn Swan in a 7 from the Collector's Collection. I don't know much about that, but it was a tough card to find. And again, all these are very low pops in an SGC 7. And then here's some commons. Here's the JT Thomas at a 7. Here is the Randy Grossman in a 7. So it's hard to get anything above a 7 in this set, honestly. Here's Bobby Walden in a 7, all from the Mexican set. And let's see if I have any more here in this box. Nope, that was it. Now, the one card you didn't see, obviously, was the Terry Bradshaw. So that's one of the big cards I need to go out and get, is the Terry Bradshaw Mexican 77. So that's on my list, the cards to find this year. Ken Stabler, 78, 8.5. There you go, 78s. And then 78s are really easy to get. In fact, I got a 78 football wax pack right here. You can still open these packs. They're not as... they're pretty common still. So I know people still open up 78 Topps wax boxes, even though they're expensive, but they're not impossible to find. I see a lot of cello packs as well, I believe, that are still available. So you'll sometimes see those with stars on front, still coming out. So yeah, 78 is one of those sets that just seems like it was printed a lot more. Maybe football's getting more popular. Here is a PSA 9 Jack Lambert. Then here is the second year Mike Webster in a PSA 9. Again, these are all doubles. Hate to say it. Got a lot of these cards. Because I was just buying Steeler cards for a lot of years. There is the Franco Harris in a PSA 9. LC Greenwood. I believe it's LC's rookie card in a PSA 9. And second year Steve Argent in an 8. I like that card a lot, just because it's gets some nice color matching with the green, the Seahawks. There's the Staubach in a 70, and it's a 9, which is pretty rare for me, but it's cool to see a 9 and a 78 Roger Staubach. Here is a 79 Terry Bradshaw and an 8.5. So I think 77 and 79 look kind of like, honestly. It's almost like they took 70 not 70. It took 73 and 77 and mashed them up a little bit. And there's the Jack Lambert N8. Here's the Franco Harris N8. Here is the Walter Payton Record Breaker, number 79. Pretty cool card, N8. I like that. And the last card of my football card collection is 79 Tony Dorsett and a PSA 8. So that's my kind of vintage, up into the 80s football cards. You know, I obviously want to finish my 77 Mexican Steeler set, find the Bradshaw, and then go back and get some really cool 50s cards. I'm not sure I'm going to go back and get a Jim Brown rookie card with just the cost today, because I still want a 7 or an 8. That's just how I roll. So that may be off the docket for now. But, you know, I definitely want, if I had like, you know, my top 5 70 or top 5 football cards to buy, for me, I would be the 62 Jim Brown, the 63 Jim Brown, the 77 Staubach, 77 Terry Bradshaw Mexican card. Then, you know, probably be something like, you know, I'd love to get a Walter Payton rookie card at some point, and then a 71, you know, Joe Green and Terry Bradshaw. Those will all be really high on the list for me to get, because it would be, you know, Hall of Fame rookie cards plus Steelers plus, you know, just some of the best players ever played. So there it is, guys. That's my vintage football card collection. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and hope you liked it. And I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.